Hi. This needs to be addressed and it needs to stop. And I do hope that the Labour Party sues the BBC especially, because I think this is persecution now. That Jeremy Corbyn is repeatedly being accused of anti-Semitism and of failing to address anti-Semitism within the Labour Party. And apparently he's declined to apologise to the UK Jewish community after the chief rabbi criticised how the party deals with anti-Semitism claims. Well, the fact is that many Jewish communities in Britain support Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn has nothing to apologise for because he has not been anti-Semitic and he does not tolerate anti-Semitism within his party. He has heavily criticised and condemned Zionist Israeli actions against the people of Palestine and even against members of, their own Israeli citizens who are non-Zionist Jews and who, as Jews, oppose fundamentally the atrocities being committed against Palestinians in their name. Now, what's disturbing about this is that despite the fact that Jeremy Corbyn all his life has stood up for human rights and including the human rights of Jewish people, even his own mother, an activist in confronting anti-Semitism, that he should not be hauled up onto the BBC and be even insulted by having to answer any such questions when the BBC knows full well that this is a political smear campaign orchestrated by the Tories, who are very pro-Zionist. David Cameron himself coming out in 2009 stating very clearly, I am a Zionist. And also EDL have given their support to Boris Johnson. Tommy Robinson, alleged name as he's using now, has stood up himself and claimed that he is a Zionist. Zionism is not Judaism, the same as evangelical Christians are not Christianity, the same as the Ku Klux Klan is not Christianity. Nobody could claim that the Ku Klux Klan represents the whole of Christianity, or that evangelicals, Trump-supporting evangelicals, represent the whole of Christianity. And if, as a unit, under that heading, these entities operating as Christians commit crimes, then calling out those crimes, condemning those crimes, is not being anti-Christian. You see, it is understood that there's many elements within Christianity, various factions of Catholics, Protestants, you name it, the various factions within what constitutes Christian faith, who do not support the Ku Klux Klan or far-right evangelicals. But that is basically what is being levelled here now at Jeremy Corbyn, because he has criticised the far-right extremist actions of one facet of Judaism, which is Zionism, which itself is a creation, really, in much the same way as Mormonism is a creation of the 19th century. So he has criticised them. That is not being anti-Semitic. And the BBC knows better. Okay, the BBC has been delivering news for how long now? They have professional journalists, investigative media. They have all the technology at their disposal. They know that Jeremy Corbyn is not anti-Semitic, but they are participating in this smear. No apology from Jeremy Corbyn over Labour anti-Semitism claims. Why should he apologise when he's got nothing to apologise for? Is he going to apologise for saying Palestinian people have human rights and that the Israeli Zionist government is operating unlawfully and illegally by stealing their lands? Why should he apologise? Why should the BBC even have the audacity to ask anybody to apologise for something like that? Why isn't the BBC asking Ian Duncan Smith to apologise for the deadly cuts and draconian cruel cuts that he imposed against British benefit claimants, to the extent that tens of thousands are now dead as a direct result? A Tory policy that has murdered 130,000 people. Austerity. Actually economic terrorism. That has caused economic murder. Why isn't the BBC asking any of them to apologise for that? 130,000 people are dead. How many are dead because Jeremy Corbyn has criticised Zionists? And then we've got Boris Johnson with all his Islamophobic remarks and his actually racist comments. Has he apologised for any of them? Have any of the Tory party apologised for the death and destruction that they have wreaked on our country, that their lies have delivered? The children who have been tormented and persecuted at school because they're an immigrant, or their parents are immigrants, or because they're black, or because they're a Muslim. The people who have been attacked in the street and in shopping centres, whose mosques have been damaged, whose synagogues have been damaged by these same far-right extremists, because it is a known fact that the same far-right extremists that support Boris Johnson and the likes of Trump do support anti-Semitism and are anti-Semitic. We've witnessed it ourselves, that people on Tommy Robinson support demos, we've seen them wearing their swastikas and doing their Nazi salutes. We've seen them in America, the Trump supporters defending their Confederate statue, chanting with torches, "Jews shall not replace us." This is a twisted narrative, and the BBC, I call you out as actually criminal. This is criminal negligence that you are displaying here, and right before an election. And this enough alone now is enough to call into question the validity of this election when this level of alleged news has been broadcast, when actually it isn't news. This is blatant propaganda, promoting covertly and overtly far-right extremism that has already murdered 130,000 British people. What have you, the BBC, to say about that? And yet, here you are criticising Jeremy Corbyn. No apology from Jeremy Corbyn over anti-Semitism claims. Their claims, but they're lies. Anti-Semitism lies. It's a lie. Now, I've been reading on Facebook, Twitter, various media platforms, and that people have been saying, well, you know, Jeremy Corbyn isn't anti-Semitic. You know, there might be some anti-Semitism in Labour. Excuse me, there might be some anti-Semitism everywhere. There might be some anti-Semitism among the Lib Dems. There might be some anti-Semitism among the Tories. But I'm very sure that if anybody within the Labour Party had expressed any level of anti-Semitism, Jeremy Corbyn would have expelled them. That's the fact of it. There is no anti-Semitism tolerated in the Labour Party. End of story. That's the fact. Jeremy Corbyn is not anti-Semitic. His supporters are not anti-Semitic. Perhaps some of them secretly are. But if any of them ever dared use their power and position and started out dishing out anti-Semitic comments, they'd be gone before they could blink. And it's the same with the Tory party. There could be anti-Semites in there. There could be anti-Semites within the Lib Dems. But, you know, they're never going to speak out enough. Because, yes, they will be kicked out immediately. But apparently within the Tory party, it's fine to be racist, to be homophobic, to be Islamophobic. That's fine. Oh, yeah, you know, the comment about letterboxes, you know, it was just a joke. How can that be a joke when we're witnessing mosques being attacked in Britain, when we're witnessing Muslim people being attacked, when we've got the EDL supporting the Tories who go around tormenting Muslim communities? This is absolutely outrageous, and the BBC, I think we need to bring a class action against them, because this is just pure propaganda on the far right. It is on the far right, supporting far right extremism, and specifically to denigrate Jeremy Corbyn, who is the working people of Britain, which is the 80% of the British population. He is directly serving our interests. In fact, he's serving the interests of 100% of the British population, because he's standing up for humanity. And sadly, you know, it seems very rich people can forego their humanity for the sake of their money and their power. So, you know, look, people, we need to just stand firm now. As soon as this anti-Semitism label comes up on the streets anywhere, look, it's like, look, sorry, it's propaganda criticising Zionist atrocities against Palestinian people is not being anti-Semitic. End of story. And you Zionists that are pushing this narrative, you can get lost, okay? Just get lost, because it is not anti-Semitic to call out crime and criminals, okay? Now, if you're going to say that being a Zionist Jew gives you the right to commit crimes against humanity, then I'm sorry. You are nothing more. You are a criminal, and you are abusing the Judaic faith in order to promote and support crime and criminal actions. And that is an abomination against Jah.